We're back with our guest, Vilma Olsvary Ginzberg, wonderful Sonoma County poet. We've been talking with her about her life and her career as a poet and a psychotherapist. Now we're going to hear some poetry from Vilma.
This is one of my recent ones. It's called Age-Related Memory Impairment. I'm 95, and occasionally things happen. I forget things, or my memory is a little unstable. So I wrote this to try to describe that experience. Age-related memory impairment. Every once in a while, I stand on this island of time without purpose or intent, unmoored from my craft, cut off from my history. It is a lonely place, this unknown fog-wrapped shore, where yesterday has disappeared. Tomorrow seems out of reach, and I'm not sure of my path or if my call will be answered. Until now, I have been allowed by the mysterious fates to return home after a little while to my clear-skied mainland, where my mind and I hug each other in relief and play again in the sandbox of my elderhood, as if being whole were a holiday gift to be treasured.
Beautiful. It is indeed a gift to be treasured, being whole. Feel free to share some more, whatever you like. We'd love to hear it.
Let's see. This is for fun. It's called Squeezing It Out. You know how when you're nearly at the end of the toothpaste in the tube, you put it flat on the bathroom counter and grab your brush on the bristle end and using the handle press down on the flattening tube, working from the bottom end toward the cap end until that last bit of paste emerges for your morning brushing? That's how I wrote this poem.
That's fun. That is really fun. And so relatable.
This one is called If I Could. If I could, I would siphon off all mother grief on the planet, rain the tears on the earth's deserts, and grow forget-me-nots. If I could, I would gather the heated hatreds of the fathers, fire up the furnaces to warm the shivering children. If I could, I would harvest the plump grapes of greed, stomp and age them into wines of kindness. If I could, I would compost the waste and dung of stupidity, plant it in rock and clay of firmly held belief, and harvest hope for the hated. If I could, I would fill the fissures of fear with care, smooth the greens with safety, so everyone plays on the level field of fair. And then at last, I would padlock the caves of ignorance after everyone was out.
Beautiful and so relevant. I noticed that poem and some others of yours that I've heard have a kind of social justice and sometimes a little bit of a political feel to them.
Oh.
And what combined with the hope is really needed.
This is one of my favorite poems that I have written. It's called Rift Valley, Kenya. I visited Africa, Kenya in 1989 on a study tour. And there was an occasion when I could sit at the southern end of the Rift Valley. The Rift Valley is a slash about 1,000 miles long, north and south, from the south of Egypt down through the center of Africa. There's almost, it's uninhabitable. It's desert, and it's just a big slash into the continent. And I sat there one evening and had this epiphany. As the last purple light of western dusk fades to black, here on the south rim of this vast African valley, I sit on the edge of the wide night, watching it spread slowly and endlessly before me. No light, but numberless stars sprinkled randomly above, defying gravity, teasing the great dark with silver sparkle, as if to deny its dominion. Silence, as large as the onyx sky, settles its blanket gently on the drowsy earth. And peace lulls the beast in me, as well as in the lioness, opens its arms to the listening soul. I feel the valley in my bones. I am in its skin, in its pristine wilderness, its rough, unhurried tests of time, its primeval, unsentimental innocence. From this unspoiled valley of original birth, this vast enveloping ebony womb, this sweeping swath of possibility, I hear maternal grunts of my mother, Lucy, primal mother of us all, echo through the eons, past parades of civilizations, giving birth to us all, giving me life. Reunited with my mother, I hear her soft primate lullaby waft on the low valley breezes. I am in the original cradle. I know all who ever lived and ever will, as kin, as family.
Thank you so much for that. That's really a tremendous poem. And I did hear you read that live a few weeks ago, so it was great to hear it again. Thank you for that. We have time for 3 or 4 more if you're willing.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see what I can. I have been a fan of Jeffrey Kahane. I mean, I'm almost like a groupie, you know. I mean, I wrote poems about him and gave them to him. And there was a time when I was giving him another poem and I almost thought he was going to get a restraining order on me because anyway, but here's a short poem called Solo Recital that describes how I experienced him in a solo recital. He seats himself at the piano, lowers his head for a silent moment, as if entering a secret chamber through a low portal, places his velvet iron fingers on the keys, eases into the music, then sends it forth to reach us, teach us, touch us, the many hundreds of us in concert, on nerve endings we had not known our souls have.
Wonderful.
I went to a museum in San Francisco some years ago where they were having a display of music manuscripts from the great composers. And there were pieces of manuscripts from Beethoven, from Chopin, from Mozart. And I was so touched and moved and inspired to see these little pieces of music manuscript because they said so much more than just the notes that were on them. And I wrote this poem called Music Manuscripts. Scouting the museum anterooms, I find the exhibit I came to see, music manuscripts writ in their very hand, Beethoven, Chopin, Mozart, sheets of paper left behind, beyond the flesh that once fashioned phrases channeled direct from soul's ear to fingertip, to pen, to paper, that we might hear what came to them original. Here is more than music. Here is the body's dance, the rush of life revealing what the melody cannot, betraying daily habit, pattern, character. Chopin's notes precisely patterned, like tatted lace on page, delicately set out, neat, exact, as unblemished as a Victorian bosom clothed with fragile embellishment, transparently revealing all. Beethoven's pages betraying brashness, spattered with stain, coffee, tears, blood, impatient ink spots forced by inspiration, vulgar power exposing a brutal beauty, and secret senses pulsed and pushed to unabashed immortality, as if to outpace the coming silence. And there, Mozart's strokes, slanting forward like a lithe and limber runner, darting among the melodies, rapid, sure, and confident, scribing a master faster than himself, the final note in sight of the first, the course known from the beginning, the flesh unable to outrun time, the music flashing through eternity. Thank you. View from a nonagenarian's porch. Old age is not pretty. Who said it should be? We all did in our secret hearts where fantasy lives in a witness protection program. And now here we are, bobbling between disappointment and unspoken apology, waiting in vain for the grace we had longed for, and the dignity and the wisdom. Instead, we laugh whenever we can, and if lucky, are mistaken for being contented. This is a little poem for the planet. Assisted care for mother. Spring's first rose bursts its virgin beauty on my eyes, caring not for whom I vote. Its thorn pricks my careless thumb, whether I am thief or theologian. Cool water slake my thirst, rice and bean, they fill my belly. Sunset washes me in purple orange glory, regardless which holy book I read or none. I am of this earth and will to it return, as are you, and so will you. She has borne us, fed us, held us, and we have used her well and ill. Overworked and undernourished, nearly used up, she needs us now. How dare we ignore her gasping, tearing ourselves asunder with silly childish debate over her care. Our ailing mother deserves the best. Let us be not proud or stubborn. Let us call in the experts, roll up our sleeves, and remember to love her.
Just beautiful and very powerful.
Thank you.
Have maybe a couple more, if that's okay.
Back sack. I carry the sack on my bent and aching back. It is a long time since I have opened it, examined it, cleaned it up. Old thoughts, dusty memories, outdated plans, most of them now irrelevant, and I dread the chore. Who can keep track of it all, my tired body asks, let alone carry out those youthful, bold intentions? There is no answer except not I. Perhaps it is time to say another goodbye. So many. I don't have much energy left to try to change the world, though heaven knows it needs improving. But after groaning myself out of bed of mornings and taking my vitals a daily chore ever since that heart thing, and with the slowness of the tortoise getting dressed and all that goes before and after, and making breakfast, scrambling the eggs seems like a workout anymore, and keeping track of the vitamins for my doc and for me, and reading the morning paper and meditating that away, and cleaning up the kitchen and making the bed. Oh, making the bed, that ought to be the new workout instead of the gym. And putting away the laundered clothes washed yesterday and checking my email to see if the family is still okay and seeing that the family of nations is not. And weather permitting, checking to see how my garden is faring, what with the drought and poor air and all. And musing how the weeds and snails shall overcome someday, but meanwhile trying to hold my own in their midst, and picking the ripening fruit and putting it out on the communal table, feeling a bit of Eden in my bones, and coming back in, stomping off the dirt from my shoes and washing my hands and sitting for a minute to rest the weary back, and then to the desk to track my budget and pay my bills and make a list for the next foray of chores, and making the appointments for the teeth and the heart and the knees and the trainer and the hair and the taxes and the toenail trim, and calling my sister, now failing to remember, and crying after hanging up, and texting my granddaughter that I love her always, and quick, write down that phrase so it's not last, because the poetry isn't coming as often as it used to, and noticing how much of the day has been used up. And there's still so much to do, another meal or two, a call or two to friends, not counting the guilty pleasure TV show, and getting ready for bed in this little world I call my life at something past 90. No wonder I don't have much energy left to try to change the world, though heaven knows it needs improving.
Oh, that's wonderful. I just love it. I love the idea of meditating after reading the news. That's a very good idea.
We recently had Father's Day. I wrote this 20 years after my dad had died. I woke up on a Father's Day morning with this poem in my head, or a phrase from it singing in my head. So this is the poem that came to use that phrase. Remembering Dad on Father's Day. Hiking us up the Pocono foothills of our childhood to breathe in meadows overrun with wildflower and sunshaft, eternities of hill mounds bluing into forever took our breath away. The way we wowed them at PTA meetings, me in my pigtails and homemade dress and Buster Brown shoes and 9-year-old piano chords, your violins stringing out Lacy Schubert melodies, Victorian doilies of song, took their breath away. Your agile fingers dancing, bow flying, fiddling out those gypsy Chardash rhythms, urging our feet to stomp, then twirl and stomp and twirl again in wild Hungarian wedding dance frenzy, took our breath away. Sidestepping you down on the carpet, eye level with our precious babies, smile to smile, play to play, mood to mood, hug to hug, such sure and gentle grandfathering took our breath away. That last time before my pilgrimage to Madeira to hear Bach nonstop for a week, promising to tell you all about it on my return, I asked you on your hospital bed, is there always music in your head? Isn't there in yours, you adagioed back, taking my breath away. My sister told me how, encircled by her and our brother and oxygen tubes, your bony fingers fiddling with my Father's Day card, the black coal dust from those Pocono mines of your teens, the asbestos factory dust from your father-obligated prime, and 7 decades of I'd walk a mile for a camel, finally took your breath away.
That's a precious poem, Vilma. Thank you for sharing that. Really lovely and so apt for Father's Day. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. talking with you, listening to you, hearing your stories and your poems. And I'm sure everyone will enjoy listening to it. So thank you very, very much for being our
Thank you for
first.
the opportunity, Sandra. This has been a really precious chance for me to share some of my work. Thank you so much for that.
You're so welcome.
Hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Vilma. Bye-bye.
Okay.